You know what I don't miss at all? That brutal week before my period when I'm exhausted and all I want is sweets. All of them. I'm talking chocolate, cookies, chips, basically anything with sugar or salt. It's like my body takes over and I can't stop. That's when I found Happy Mammoth. It's so much easier to manage PMS with their estro control. Happy Mammoth is the company that created Hormone Harmony, and they're dedicated to making women's lives easier. That means using only science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and honestly, it shows. The biggest benefit to Hormone Harmony is really feeling like myself again. That's what women mention over and over in their reviews. And there are literally over 17,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code DIARIES at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code DIARIES for 15% off today. A special thanks to Happy Mammoth for sponsoring today's episode. This episode is sponsored in part by our friends over at Sono Bello. Genetics can be truly amazing. Maybe you inherited your mom's beautiful eyes, her radiant skin, or a smile that lights up the room. But sometimes, not always, but sometimes, we inherit traits that we wish we could change. Like those areas of our body that just don't feel like us. It's not uncommon to catch yourself thinking, ugh, I got my mom's belly and love handles. But remember, genetics don't have to define your confidence. You deserve to feel great in your own skin, and that includes loving the way you look. Don't let genetics hold you back. Explore the permanent solutions at Sono Bello and take the first step toward the body that you've always wanted. Our friends over at Sono Bello are offering you their literal best deal. You're now included in their winter savings event. But appointments are limited, so if you want this, you need to get on this now. Sono Bello doctors are masters in micro laser fat removal. It's this brilliant technique that removes stubborn fat permanently. That's right, permanently. Wherever your problem areas are, whether it's your tummy, love handles, thighs, even your arms, it's gone in one comfortable visit. Yes, eating healthy and workouts are great. Keep doing that. But if you want to lose that stubborn fat in just one visit, check out Sono Bello. You can save big during their winter savings event. Schedule your free consultation now at sonobello.com/diaries. That's Sono Bello, BELLO.com/diaries. I want to take a moment to talk about something really important: mental health. Now, I've had the chance to try therapy a few times in my life, and let me tell you, it's always been a helpful tool when sorting through difficult moments. Therapy gave me the space to work through challenges, and more importantly, it helped me gain tools to deal with whatever life throws my way. That's why I'm excited to share something I think is really awesome. Rula. It's a healthcare company that makes therapy more accessible, so you can get the support you need when you need it. Finding the right therapist can feel overwhelming, but with Rula, it's easier than ever. With a network of over 10,000 therapists and psychiatrists nationwide, you can find the perfect match for your needs, preferences, and state requirements, whether you're looking for talk therapy or medication management. Plus, most major insurances are accepted, so you can pay as little as $15 per session. And another thing that sets Rula apart is their end-to-end care. They're with you every step of the way, from matching you with the right professional to scheduling appointments and even tracking your progress. Rula is dedicated to your success, ensuring you get quality care with carefully screened providers and support throughout your journey. So whether you're looking for therapy or medication help, Rula has the range of care you need. It's all about finding the right solution, even if you're not exactly sure what that is. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey toward improved mental health and overall well-being. Head on over to rula.com/diaries to get started today. After you sign up, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. Go to rula.com/diaries and take the first step towards better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares.
Listen to this episode ad-free and early by heading over to patreon.com/themurderdiariespod. For $2.99 a month, you can support our show and listen ad-free and early. Patreon.com/themurderdiariespod.
Welcome to the Murder Diaries. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Paige.
November 8th, 2001 was a morning like any other for Donna Osteen. Her husband Richard headed out the door for work at around 7:30 a.m. Well, Donna stayed behind to make breakfast for their two children, drive her teen son to his school, and then take her daughter to her scheduled piano lesson. Just another Thursday for a busy, happy family. But when Donna returned to the house overlooking Shilsho Bay in the Ballard Sunset Hill area of Seattle, Washington, a devastating nightmare unfolded that would take her life and impact her loved ones forever. It was a brutal, vicious crime that no one could have anticipated, leaving Donna's lifeless body drenched in blood and a team of investigators with more questions than answers as they tried to solve her murder. Known by friends and family as resourceful, feisty, and honest, Donna was the epitome of strength and well-liked by everyone who knew her. She didn't have a single enemy in her life. A great mom and a dedicated wife whose world revolved around her family and the insurance business she and her husband ran together, Donna was living the busy and successful life that most people dream of. A brutal murder in broad daylight inside her own home was the last thing that anyone ever expected to happen to Donna Osteen. What happened to Donna was unimaginable, a mystery to this day that begs to be solved. Did the crime against her receive the appropriate attention it deserved? Did police really do all they could? Or was Donna's case left languishing in the shadows as the spotlight suddenly shifted to another, higher-profile Seattle murder? Donna's friends and family are still grasping for straws to this day, desperate for her decades-old murder to be solved. Will justice finally arrive for Donna Osteen? This is her story.
Used to think it's in my head, but I'm walking with the dead.
Donna Osteen was a native of Washington State. She was born Donna Sue Guernsey on December 2nd, 1947 to her parents Barbara and Harold. Along with her two siblings, sister Shirley and brother Gary, Donna grew up on Mercer Island. After high school, she attended the University of Washington and eventually earned a degree in dental hygiene. Donna was well liked by those who knew her best. Her friends remembered a very strong, independent person who was careful about whom she gave her trust. But when she did, she was all in. In 1978, Donna gave that trust to a man called Jim Osteen, a Washington area architect. Donna and Jim would be married in February of that year. But just 5 years later, the marriage would meet a tragic end when Jim Osteen succumbed to a 9-month battle with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It took a while for Donna to move on from the loss of Jim. In fact, she didn't really start dating seriously again for another 3 years. That's when she met Richard Haney in 1986. For a second time, Donna had found a man worthy of her trust and love. It wasn't long before wedding bells rang for Donna and Richard, and soon after the two became parents to a son and daughter. While Donna kept her last name from her previous marriage, her children took their dad's last name of Haney. One of Donna's neighbors, Kim, told the Seattle Post-Intelligencer that Donna's world revolved around her children. They were her life. Another neighbor, Patty, also commented on Donna's maternal dedication. Patty said, Donna was such a good mom. She was involved in every way with her children's lives. Donna was active in the PTA and often volunteered at the schools her children attended. Her neighbor Kim was quoted as saying, Donna was always trying to make the schools better, not just for her children, but for all children. At the time of the murder, Donna's life was as full and busy as could be. She was helping her husband run their marine insurance agency, but she never let the work get in the way of her favorite hobbies. Each winter, the family would take snow skiing trips in the mountains. And in the summer, you were apt to find Donna out on the water sailing in the family boat. According to the Associated Press, Donna was one of the first women in the area to race sailboats. She even once sailed to the South Pacific.
This was just the kind of independent and adventurous person that Donna was, looking for every opportunity to live her life to the fullest. But that life would be cut short in a barbaric act of rage and murder.
At around 8:25 a.m. on November 8th, 2001, Donna called her sister Shirley. Donna had just dropped her son at school and her daughter at the daily piano lesson. Now, Shirley recalled Donna being in a bad mood, so the phone call didn't last long. Also, Donna had to stay on schedule so she could go back to the piano instructor's house and drive her daughter from there to school. Shirley would later tell Westside Seattle that she wondered if the murder was actually there in the home while she and Donna spoke on the phone, leaving us to wonder, was Donna's short temper her way of trying to tell Shirley something? Maybe Donna was trying to get through to me, Shirley said. But whatever the reason for Donna's mood, it was the last time Shirley would hear her sister's voice. Within a half hour of that phone call, Donna would be dead. Meanwhile, her daughter's piano instructor, Virginia, was looking at her watch. The time for pickup had come and gone, and Donna hadn't shown up. This was very out of the ordinary as Donna was always prompt and punctual. Virginia tried calling Donna's home several times, but nobody answered. Almost an hour passed before Virginia decided to take Donna's daughter home herself. When they arrived at the Haney home, Virginia noticed that Donna's car was still in the driveway. Donna's daughter tried to access the home through the exterior ground floor doors, but all three were locked. She told Virginia that there was a secret key hidden in the separate garage adjacent to the home, so they quickly retrieved it and used it to open the front door. But the door only budged about an inch. The safety latch was engaged. This puzzled Donna's daughter. "We never use that lock," she told Virginia. So the two of them banged on the door and called Donna's name, trying to get her attention. Only no answer came. The house was ominously quiet. Virginia had an overwhelming feeling that something was very wrong. Seeing a landscaper on the neighboring lawn, Virginia and Donna's daughter rushed over to see if he could help them. The landscaper followed them back to the front door of the Haney house. But with the front door inaccessible, the trio circled around the side of the house looking for another way in. And there, one of the locked doors that Donna's daughter had just tried to enter minutes earlier was standing wide open. Someone had used this door in the few moments that it took Virginia and Donna's daughter to go next door for help. Not wanting to take any chances, the landscaper told the two of them to wait outside while he checked things out. He later told Seattle Weekly that the second he entered the house, he was terrified. The hairs standing on the back of his neck told him instantly that something wasn't right. And as he moved further into the home, he saw drops of blood, the size of a large dog's paw, on two of the middle steps of the staircase leading upstairs. He made his way up to the second floor of the home and saw signs of an obvious disturbance. A TV was laying on its side, and there was clothing strewn about. This was all too much for the landscaper. Unarmed and desperately worried the perpetrator was still inside the home, he was too frightened to explore further. So he ran downstairs and went back to find more help next door. The landscaper and a neighbor returned to the home and went back upstairs, followed by Virginia. The master bedroom was in disarray. Jewelry box drawers had been pulled out and emptied, costume jewelry dumped all over the bed. That's when Virginia saw Donna's body in the corner of the room. She was lying face down in the short, narrow passage between her bed and the master bathroom, her head turned toward the outside wall. Her hands had been bound behind her back with duct tape. She was fully clothed and there seemed to be blood everywhere. Donna had been viciously attacked. Not knowing whether Donna was dead or alive, Virginia used her cell phone to call 911. All of this was just before 10 a.m. Virginia then exited the room and called Donna's husband, Richard. She told him that Donna had been attacked, that she was seriously injured, possibly dead, and that the police had been called. Richard couldn't believe what he was hearing. His wife? Attacked? In their home? Maybe even dead? Richard later told the Post Intelligencer, "From that point on, I kind of went off the deep end." He was so shocked by the news that a fellow employee at the insurance agency had to drive him home. Police arrived at the Haney home, and upon further inspection of Donna, they found that she was deceased. She'd been stabbed multiple times between her neck and abdomen. An autopsy would later reveal that she'd been stabbed a total of 13 times. Near her body in the bedroom, there were 2 holes in the drywall, presumably made by Donna kicking her feet in an attempt to protect herself from the killer. Most of her blood had pooled heavily beneath her body, but there were also spatters in the bathroom and smears on the wall in the hallway where the killer had obviously paused to look out the window. Police also found the family dogs had been confined to the first floor, and Donna's killer had taken the time to lock all the doors and cut the phone line. Additional blood smears and spatters were found downstairs leading out the back door and down an exterior stairway behind the house. The neighborhood was blocked off as police investigated possible escape routes that the killer might have taken. They called in bloodhounds to assist in the search as well, but the dogs found nothing. Every trail ran cold. It was clear that the killer was long gone. And this entire time that all of this was happening, Richard was made to wait outside of his home, the police telling him nothing, not even if his wife was dead or alive. Richard later told the Post-Intelligencer, "As the hours wore on, I had to assume she must be dead. But that's your spouse, and your lover, and your best friend in there, and you want to rush in and save them." While the police searched the area, Richard wasn't allowed to see his children. Their daughter was made to stay at a neighbor's house, and their son was kept at his school. Richard couldn't pick him up until much later that evening.
If I'm shopping online and I notice that this store or company uses Shopify, I know I and all the other customers are in good hands. I can also trust that that company makes some pretty good choices. It's really no shock that someone like Selena Gomez chooses to use Shopify for her super successful makeup brand Rare Beauty. Sure, you would think that Rare Beauty would have scary good marketing and has a megastar owner like Selena, but what's often overlooked with these companies is what the business is behind the business. And in this case, it's Shopify, making the buying and selling simple. Home of the #1 checkout on Earth and the not-so-secret Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%. That means that way less cards are going abandoned and way more sales are going, getting good in-demand products in people's hands and keeping businesses humming. Your commerce platform has to be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling if you want your business to grow, be that on the web, in your store, or on a feed, and anywhere in between. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Selena Gomez uses for Rare Beauty. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/murderdiaries. All lowercase. Go to shopify.com/murderdiaries to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/murderdiaries. The neighborhood was obviously shocked by Donna's murder. This kind of thing didn't happen in their upscale, affluent suburb. Even something as incidental as a car being broken into was uncommon in that area. One neighbor, a man called Victor, said that he'd been living in that neighborhood for 50 years and had never seen anything like it.
At face value, Donna's murder looked like it was the result of a burglary gone wrong. But the perpetrator was extremely organized for this being just some random burglary. The killer brought their own duct tape, a knife, and gloves into the home. Also, the amount of things missing appeared to be conspicuously few, and what was missing seemed puzzling. The killer took items that weren't worth much money while leaving other high-value things behind. The stolen items included a half-gallon pickle jar filled with nickels, a small combination lock safe, a black backpack, a bank bag, a silver semicircle bracelet, Donna's wedding band from her first marriage, Donna's wedding band from Richard, as well as Donna's grandmother's wedding ring. As it goes with most cases when a married woman is murdered in broad daylight like this, Richard was at the top of the suspect list. Husbands and boyfriends are always looked at first. And just because Richard had been at work when the killing took place, it didn't exactly eliminate him from suspicion. Police subjected Richard to hours and hours of interrogation. They drew blood samples and administered a polygraph test on him before he was finally ruled out. Investigators then focused on other angles. They asked Richard if Donna had been involved with someone else, perhaps having an affair. Richard told them that he and Donna had worked and lived together too closely to have secret lives. And as far as he was concerned, with the hours they spent running the family business and keeping up with the kids' schedules, there was no place for any kind of affairs or adultery to be hidden. Police also asked if anyone had been bothering Donna lately. And the answer to that was also no. Donna would have definitely mentioned something like that to Richard. So the net for potential suspects had to be widened. Police began a cursory investigation of the neighborhood and found a man who lived in a ramshackle cabin at the foot of a bluff that overlooked Donna's neighborhood. His cabin was searched, the man was questioned, and with no clues or evidence to go on, he was ruled out. Investigators had also heard about a transient who had recently been bragging at a local tavern about killing a woman. Police found him and questioned him, but he too was eventually ruled out as a suspect. On November 9th, the day after Donna's murder, her family released a statement that read, "We're trying to understand why it happened and who would take the life of a mother of 2 young children, and our beloved wife, mother, sister, and daughter. We know the Seattle Police Department is working the case earnestly, and we are hoping to find the person responsible for this heinous murder and bring that person to justice. We all love Donna very much and will find it very hard to live without her."
Donna's daughter wrote a tribute letter to her mother that read, "She never really gave up on anything. She always said what was on her mind. Her 3 favorite things were to be in her garden, sailing her boat, and being with her family. She was so strong. All you people who didn't know her, she was the best mom I could think of."
Only a handful of articles about Donna's murder were published in the local papers. Before long, her case stalled altogether. The police were focused on another crime, one that greatly overshadowed what happened to Donna Osteen. Just 3.5 weeks before she was murdered, Assistant United States Attorney Thomas Wales was killed. His murder had the force of the FBI behind it, while only a single Seattle police detective was assigned to Donna's case. And that same detective had approximately 10 to 20 other cases piled on his desk. It's no wonder there was so little focus given to Donna. Before we can continue with Donna's case, we need to talk about the assassination of Thomas Wales. Thomas Crane Wales was born on June 23, 1952 in Boston, Massachusetts. He grew up in Southborough. Super smart and funny, Tom was considered by most to be a wonderful person and extremely well-rounded. He was both a poet and an athlete. After attending high school at the prestigious Massachusetts Milton Academy, Tom went on to graduate from Harvard and Hofstra University School of Law. He began his career in New York at a Wall Street law firm, but found he was more interested in public service, so he pivoted to a position at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Seattle. There, he was a federal prosecutor in the fraud unit. At the time of his death, he had been married and divorced and had a son and daughter. At around 10:40 p.m. on October 11, 2001, Tom was working in the basement of his Queen Anne Hill home in the 100 block of Hayes Street when a gunman slipped down the dark and narrow cement walkway between Tom's house and the house next door. The killer snuck into Tom's backyard, stealthily avoided security lights, crept up to a basement window, and fired at least 4 shots into the basement, all aimed at Tom, who was struck in the neck and side. The investigation revealed that Tom had been sitting just a few feet from his basement window when he was shot. The room he was in was well lit, helping the assailant make sure that all of his bullets found their target. The type of gun that killed Tom was a MacLeod 9mm. This is a gun choice on the streets because of its concealability and the powerful punch it delivers. Alarmed by the gunfire, a neighbor looked out her window to see a white man walking down the street. He was walking real fast, the neighbor said, and she watched him get into a car parked beneath a tree and take off like a bat out of hell. She called the police, who arrived at Tom's house with paramedics. and Tom was rushed to the hospital. He would die there only a few hours later. Tom's murder immediately became the top story. Killing a prosecutor was on par with killing a police officer. His assassination was splashed across the front pages of every newspaper and featured at the top of every local news broadcast in the Seattle area. One attorney who worked with Tom told Seattle Magazine, "This is the #1 criminal case in Seattle." There were national and historical implications to his death, too. If he was killed because of his job, he would be the first federal prosecutor in U.S. history to be slain in the line of duty. A variety of law enforcement agencies were immediately assigned to the case, including the Seattle Police, the FBI, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. In fact, Tom's case was given Bureau Major Case status by the FBI. Fewer than 200 investigations throughout history have been given this classification, putting Tom's case on tier with the Unabomber. The federal government was even offering a $1 million reward for anything that would lead to the capture and arrest of Tom's killer. Investigators searched for a motive for Tom's murder. Did it have anything to do with his activism in gun control? After all, Tom was the most prominent face for gun control in the state of Washington, and he had been pushing for a gun show background check proposal at the time of his death. Maybe the killer had been a gun fanatic. If that was the case, the cruel irony that Tom had been murdered by a handgun wouldn't be missed. Within a couple of months, authorities had narrowed down the investigation to a single suspect. A Bellevue commercial pilot and avid gun enthusiast who had been indicted by Tom in September of 2000 for felony fraud. But the case against the pilot wouldn't hold. Some people who knew the pilot told Seattle Magazine that the pilot had an alibi. He was miles away at his home near Bellevue at the time of the murder. Eventually, charges against him and his co-defendants were dismissed. A few years later, in 2004, another neighbor came forward with a suspicious man the neighbors saw in the area the night of Tom's killing. This neighbor helped investigators create a composite sketch of the man the neighbors saw. This suspicious man was described as being in his late 30s or early 40s, with a slim build, black hair, tobacco-stained teeth, and a chipped left front tooth. Investigators may not have had enough evidence to arrest and charge the commercial pilot with Tom's murder, but that doesn't mean he ever left the top of their list of suspects. They had searched his home and found plenty of circumstantial evidence to tie him to the killing. In fact, as recent as 2021, the FBI was pursuing a lead that the pilot enlisted the help of a notorious drug cartel to arrange Tom's murder. It was their belief that a low-level criminal from Snohomish County was recruited to execute Tom. Here's how this theory plays out. The pilot, who'd been suspected of drug smuggling, reached out to connections within the Mexican drug cartel and asked for help with his plot to murder Tom. The cartel, which had operations in Washington and ties to a drug ring in Kitsap County, were aware of the Snohomish County man who owed money to that ring. The cartel hired him to kill Tom as payment for the drug debt. And I want to emphasize that this Snohomish County man looks very much like the composite sketch that investigators made back in 2004.
But even after all of this, the investigation into Tom Wales' murder really hasn't gone anywhere, and the pilot suspect has maintained his innocence the entire time. This episode of the Murder Diaries is brought to you by Wild Grain. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, pastries, and pastas. Wild Grain's boxes are fully customizable to your tastes and dietary restrictions. In addition to their classic variety box, they recently launched a new gluten-free box and a plant-based box that is 100% vegan. Best of all, they take the hassle out of baking since all items bake from frozen in 25 minutes or less with no mess or cleanup. They have so much to try, but so far I have loved their croissants and their sourdough. It's such an elite experience to have a croissant come out of your oven. That's not something that's super easy to bake, and definitely not in under 25 minutes like Wild Grain allows. It's convenient and delicious, and it also is such an elevated experience because your house smells so good. On top of it just being convenient, it makes your daily, weekly meals so much easier. Having a croissant in under 25 minutes on a weekday, you can't beat that. Are you ready to bring all your favorite carbs right to your doorstep? Be sure to check out Wild Grains so you can begin building your own box of artisanal breads, pastas, and pastries. For a limited time, Wild Grain is offering our listeners $30 off the first box, plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/diaries to start your subscription. You heard me, free croissants in every box, and $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/diaries. That's wildgrain.com/diaries, or you can use the promo code diaries at checkout.
We needed to cover Tom Whale's case because it's the only way to emphasize how the high-profile circumstances surrounding his murder investigation, as well as the sheer amount of manpower that was assigned to his case, quickly allowed Donna Osteen's case to slip through the cracks. Her husband Richard and their 2 kids were left to grieve Donna's death with no real clues as to who was responsible for murdering the woman they loved so much. A year after Donna's death, multiple people told the Post-Intelligencer that they tried to reach police with tips, but they never heard back from investigators. But the police contend that they have always followed up on the leads they've gotten. In November of 2004, investigators said that some people have been less cooperative than they would have liked, even refusing to talk to them. Some have even gotten lawyers and refused to share their DNA. During that time, police released composite sketches of 2 persons of interest, as well as photos of replicas of items that were stolen from Donna's house. An officer close to the case said that the persons of interest were not necessarily suspects, just people the investigators very much wanted to identify. According to the Seattle Times, one suspect is described as a white male, possibly in his 30s or 40s, and about 6 feet tall, weighing 180 to 200 pounds. He was wearing a white long-sleeved painter-type shirt matching white painter pants, an orange see-through traffic-style vest, and a white hard hat. His hair is described as being light brown to blonde with a box cut and no scruff on the neck, similar to a Dutch boy haircut. He may have had a mustache and possibly bad skin or acne. Another suspect is described as a white male, about 40 years old, 6 feet tall with a medium build. And this man was dressed as a construction worker in clean clothing. Richard believes that the killer had to have been someone Donna knew, someone with whom she was comfortable letting into their home. Maybe a friend or someone she had met previously. Richard said, "I think when we find this person, it's going to shock us." It could be anyone. Another father she met through their children's sports, or maybe even someone who had become infatuated with Donna at a community meeting or at the PTA. In an interview, Richard said, "Donna was a very attractive woman. Maybe it was someone verging on a stalker who finally got up the courage to come to the house." But he also wondered if she'd been subdued before being bound. According to him, Donna wasn't a woman to be pushed around. In the months after her murder, Richard told the Post-Intelligencer that he and his children hadn't been able to stay in the house. It had been difficult to return to the place where Donna had been so brutally attacked and murdered. But Richard wasn't ready to get rid of the house since it was the only place the children had known as home. So he rented the place out in hopes that through enough time and healing, they would be able to move back in. "This house has meant a lot to us," Richard said. Being a single parent so suddenly had been tough on Richard. Without Donna, it was on Richard to handle all the pickups from school, as well as scheduling all the lessons, sports, and doctor visits. On top of that, Richard was now running the insurance company alone. Donna had been an integral part of the day-to-day business operations, but Richard was determined to provide the kids with as normal as a life as possible. In a way, his children saved him in the aftermath of her murder. Richard said, "If Donna and I hadn't had the children, I don't know what I'd be. Probably a raving alcoholic. But for the children, you have to do what needs to be done next. Get up, get dressed, make lunches. I mean, Donna and I brought these kids into this life, and now I've got to get them through it." Sailing season rolled around, which was nice for Richard because it reminded him of Donna. But the first Mother's Day would be a tough one.
The kids suddenly had no one to make gifts for or bring breakfast in bed. To get them over these kinds of emotional hurdles, Richard signed himself and the kids up for therapy, and he made sure to read as many self-help grief therapy books as well.
November of 2011 marked the 10-year anniversary of Donna's murder. Her family spoke to Westside Seattle about where things were at that time. Donna's sister Shirley said that she has her own theories about what happened to Donna. She said there is a good indication that the killer was someone who was familiar with the house. The floor plan isn't your basic rambler.
Another decade plus has passed since then, and Richard checks in with detectives as much as possible, because there can be no real closure until he and his kids see justice served for Donna. He says the hardest times for him come after the dreams he has about his wife. In those dreams, Donna is always alive and happy. But when he wakes up and cold reality settles in again, she's gone forever. In September of 2023, Donna's family spoke to King 5 News about how they were feeling 22 years later. Richard said, "It's tough to realize that this person killed your wife and he's out there free running around. At first, I wanted the guy dead. Firing squad or a guillotine would have been perfect. Now if they catch him, I hope they lock him up for the rest of his life and never give him parole." Richard also said he's hopeful that someone will finally come forward with information that can help solve her murder. He said, "She was a really good mother, a good wife. She was a kind and caring person, loved movies, loved sailing." Donna's brother Gary weighed in and said, "Hopefully, justice will be served. But that won't ever relieve the ache in our hearts for our sister that's gone." Today, the murders of Thomas Wales and Donna Osteen remain unsolved. The Seattle Police Department said that they continue to investigate Donna's murder. They asked that anyone who has information contact the Seattle Police tip line at 206-233-5000. That's 206-233-5000.
Make sure to follow us on all of our socials. And remember, if you want to listen ad-free, head over to patreon.com/themurderdiariespod. And until then,
Stay safe.
bye.
This episode is sponsored in part by our friends at Hers. Let's face it, weight loss can feel overwhelming to say the least. That's why Hers is changing the game. By providing access to GLP-1 medications plus expert care, they make your goals more achievable. Hers is literally transforming women's healthcare by providing access to affordable weight loss treatment plans that are delivered straight to your door if prescribed. Hers offers a holistic weight loss program with personalized solutions that include compounded GLP-1 weekly injections that feature the same active ingredient as Ozempic and Wegovy, or even oral medication kits. It's so easy to do. Here's how it works. After you submit an online intake form, a licensed medical provider will determine what plan is best for you. If prescribed, your program includes medication, ongoing care, and online support, and it's all at one low cost. Weight loss plans are more affordable through Hers with compounded GLP-1 injections starting at $165 per month. That's with a 12-month plan paid up front for new subscribers. No hidden fees and absolutely no membership fees. So if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time you find the best option that works for you through Hers. Start your initial free online visit today at forhers.com/diaries. That's forhers.com/diaries for your personalized weight loss treatment options. Forhers.com/diaries. Hers weight loss is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions apply. Wegovy and Ozempic are not compounded. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased.
The search for truth never ends. Introducing June's Journey, a hidden object mobile game with a captivating story. Connect with friends, explore the roaring 20s, and enjoy thrilling activities and challenges while supporting environmental causes. After 7 years, the adventure continues with our immersive travels feature. Explore distant cultures and engage in exciting experiences. There's always something new to discover. Are you ready? Download June's Journey now on Android or iOS.